I can definitely say the studio behind the Slime Diaries knows exactly what they're doing with this shot right here. But with that said, I have to say this was a pretty wholesome episode, and just furthering why this I think is a needed addition to watching the main series, because when you have moments like the whole food scene with Geld, I mean, we got a lot of it with last week's episode, but I think this week is kind of like the moment that really cemented as, wow, that just adds even more weight given what we know about his father and his entire purpose for his people, because if we remember back in the main series, right, his father literally was fine sacrificing body parts to feed his kids and people as they were dehydrated. They had no food, no water. They were starving, and because of his regeneration ability, he was a great ruler who would sacrifice himself. And now his son is in a place to be able to grow crops, and even if only a single tomato survived because of the heat storm and things like that, he'd rather give it to a child than eat it himself, exactly the same way that his father would have been. This show, while it definitely is goofy, while it's definitely funny, it's definitely wholesome, I think it also not only lets us see characters who really didn't have chances to have a spotlight, like, the blacksmith as an example. I truly believe that in the few episodes that we've had of Slime Diaries, we've had more experience with the blacksmith here than we did in the main series, right? And that's just the nature of the beast. When you have a large cast of characters and a kind of nation like Tempest this large, it's impossible to be able to give everyone their chance to shine the same way you could in maybe the light novels or web novels, because you have more time to focus in on those smaller things, where anime flows are a lot different. So by having what's essentially considered a spin-off, even though it's a spin-off, I think it's honestly just as important as watching the main series. While sure it's goofy, while sure it's fun, I really do believe it lets you connect more with these characters, and even ignoring the craziness that season 2 had to offer, I think just considering like what you were able to build in the first season, because for me personally, my favorite aspect of Slime has without a doubt been the simpler stuff. I mean, a majority of the first season was simply watching Rimuru build up a nation and watching the antics that took place afterwards. So having this just kind of be in the middle of them at their peak, right? They're growing crops, they're making buildings, they have a bar, right? Everything about it is just cute and fun. I mean, the water gun fight, right? I mean, you can't have that in the main series, just given the fact that they're still building, they're still making trades and negotiations. But Slime Diaries, we have different expectations, because when you're watching the main series, you're expecting that at any moment something could happen. And even though in season 1 you firmly believed nothing would really push Rimuru off the edge, there still was always the threat of a different kingdom, an orc army, a demon army, whatever it may be. So to have this really just be everything that you want to see them thrive at is what makes it so great to me. The comedy is honestly still on point. For an episode all about the summer heat, I thought they did a great job sprinkling in some ridiculous antics, such as the whole idea of Rimuru basically being an AC, because, well, they don't have something like that, but a nice cool slime as they argue who gets to play with Rimuru next. I think it's pretty cute, as he basically acts like a giant beanbag chair that's radiating cool energy. Or I really love the water gun fight. It's super simple. At first I thought maybe they were trying to hunt down bugs, because at first they were trying to go bug catching, and you see this ridiculous bug and I was like, oh, maybe it's like a pesticide. Nope, they're just squirting each other with water guns. And I'm like, you know what? I think the kids deserve it, right? And just seeing all the little moments, I mean, it's just so nice to get to know these characters more, because a character like Opta as an example, right? I mean, he's a character who always wants to relax and goof off. Sure, he has his training and badass moments, but he's a character who very much enjoys the simpler things in life. So a series like this lets him flourish into his true character through and through. And to watch just the episode progress, and how even when bad things, I guess, technically happen in this episode, like the heat destroying a lot of the crops, it's not like it's the end all be all, right? It's one of those things that, you know, summer comes and goes, there'll be hardships and struggles, but the difference between someone like Geld before Rimuru and after is really night and day. If I was to pick like my favorite moment in the entire episode that was like a funny moment, probably the banter between Hsieh as well as Ranga, because he's just pouting, he's huffing and puffing that his master isn't riding him as much, and it just becomes this all-out brawl because Ranga gets to lick and touch his master, and it's like, it sounds weird, but it's like, well, he is a dog, all things considered, and this girl thirsty is the best way to put it. I mean, it's just nice to see like different types of banters that maybe you don't get to see too much of in the main series, especially after season 2, given everything that happened. But still, it's just so fun to see the different dynamics, and honestly, the blacksmith as an example, right? I mean, the Eye of Sauron looking sword, like, I have no idea what was going on, but this man in the summer heat can be bashing away in a furnace-filled room and creating the craziest of monstrosities. And to be honest, I'm hoping we'll get to see a lot more of him as an example, because it's a pretty important role and a pretty important character who really kind of was sidelined in the main series. So it'll be cool to see that. And even actually getting to see Veldora in a more chibi-looking dragon form was pretty cute, I have to say, given it was just playing a game that, well, it was trying to play a game, but he didn't really play with the proper rules, just given what was going on in Rimuru's side with the fire spirit and Veldora. It was really cool. Like, these episodes, like, they have no right to be as good as they are, but they really, really are. It's just feels nice to be able to just watch this knowing there's going to be no fireballs, there's going to be no destruction, there's going to be nothing truly bad happening, and you'll get to know these characters, laugh at them, grow with them. And honestly, the craziest things that happens in an episode like the Slime Diaries will be that sunflowers will watch you rather than you watch them, right? It's just so cute, it's so wholesome, and I hope we get to see more and more of these characters, such as Geld, get chances to shine, to really show them that they've either overcome these struggles that have haunted them in the past, or just really getting to know them better because of the circumstances that they're currently in, right? It's actually pretty cute to finally see, like, different slimes in the show as well. Like, after, like, the little documentary series, seeing all the slimes pop up in Rimuru was pretty much mimicking them, and they're doing pretty good up until the sculpture. And I love the idea that it makes total sense from their perspective. I wasn't even thinking about it, because based on the dialogue, Rimuru was saying it's kind of a tradition, and Rimuru's just hanging out with slimes, looking at him, be like, oh, that's pretty interesting, and everyone comes swarming in, please don't go back to your family. I love the nonchalant, kind of, like, just obvious attitude he constantly has, saying, like, you're my family, why would I leave? It's just great, because they're always so worried. They're always saying, like, you know what, Rimuru can do no wrong, Rimuru's the best, we're gonna argue who gets Rimuru more. And Rimuru's just kind of chilling, being like, I like you guys all equally, and what the hell are you guys talking about sometimes? It's the simple moments can make an episode really interesting, and I don't know, just the idea of finally getting to see something like all those slimes was just really great, given that I think it was, what was it, last week when was it the first episode where he was talking about, hey, I've never seen any slimes, and they're talking about how tasty they are, and he runs away. Just night and day to what was happening with the dialogue in this series surrounding the concepts of slimes. It's just nice, it's great, it's wholesome, it's funny, and while this episode may not have been quite as funny as, say, like last week, I think given what the episode was aiming to do with the more wholesome aura and just the idea of the simplistic slice of life, I compared it, I think it was in episode 1, talked about how it's almost very familiar to that of something like Nanan Biori, if you've ever seen that show. And I think this episode is even more so in that vein, because it just feels like these are characters not worrying about life, but enjoying the nation that they've made. And the idea that, you know, even just because they've kind of like bulldozed pretty much all the trees covering them, summers are a lot hotter now, and they're questioning, well, maybe it's just because Veldora is gone. But no matter how you look at it, whether it's they built the buildings or the dragon's gone, our slime is the cause of everything, which is kind of hilarious. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on this episode. Definitely your favorite moment. There's always so many great moments to pick from, so it's always interesting to see which ones have kind of like sparked the most interest from different viewers. So let me know your feelings down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, show your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.